Hello everybody and welcome to the AppleBruit podcast number 7. I don't know if you're watching the video version, I don't know why I was just pointing at you like that. But anyway, oh, what? Wrong button. Anyway, let's get started with some of the Apple rumors, some of the Apple news out there for this week. At least, you know what? We're going to talk about the iPad mini. We're going to talk about I don't know why I keep pointing at the screen like that. We're going to talk about the iPad mini. We're going to talk about the 27-inch iMac and whether or not it's going to get an update and a whole bunch of headlines. And I mean a lot of headlines. And if some of you guys might not know, whatever I label as headline means there's not really enough meat in there to kind of bite into. But it's still news. All right, let's get it started with an iPad mini, actually. According to unwiredview.com, the iPad mini will have a 7.85-inch IGZO screen, IGZO, or IGZO if you're American, and it'll cost between $249 and $299, $249 and $299, and it will release this fall. And their source is mydrivers.com. I think it's mydrivers.com. And this is pretty much spawned, this rumor, these news, because I have 3 of them. These news were pretty much spawned right after the Nexus 7 came out, right after Google was like, here's our super awesome tablet, which I actually think is super awesome. I mean, I was a little bit tempted in buying it. I mean, price range, you know what, this isn't a podcast about the Google Nexus 7, but if you guys are interested in 7-inch tablets at around $200 price range, take a look at the Google Nexus 7. And I'm interested in it, but I will actually wait to see what Apple does, because I do think that they're going to have to create a 7-inch tablet at some point in time, or else Google and Amazon and Microsoft, the Microsoft slate, would kind of eat their lunch. So we don't want that, or at least us Apple fans. No, I'm not. Yes, Apple fans. I was going to say, I'm not an Apple fanboy, I'm an Apple fan, but that sentence was kind of a little bit messed up. So, anyway, the iPad mini rumors have been running rampant this week. And this is from unwiredview.com. There's another one from Bloomberg and Wall Street Journal. And when these kind of rumor news hits the big leagues, Wall Street Journal and Bloomberg, then there's kind of some credence to it. But when it sticks to the 9to5 Macs and the Apple insiders, maybe it's a little bit possible. And then when it starts off from Digitimes and those manufacturers in China, their blogs, then you're going to be like, oh, I don't know about this one. And there's actually a lot of that, a lot of Digitimes news in this episode of AppleBruit podcast. So 7.85-inch IGZO screen, and I don't think they mention it in this Unwired View article, but the consensus seems to fall on the same resolution as the iPad 2. So it's going to have the same resolution, which makes it easier for developers to make it. And I would actually be interested in it if it was in the $249 range. Now, I don't think they're going to drop it down all the way down to $200, though, man, they would totally surprise the world if they were like, iPad mini at $200, bam. I think they're going to charge a bit of a premium, a $50 premium on it. Next, Bloomberg.com says iPad mini will have a 7 to 8 inch screen, so they weren't really quite sure how big the screen would be, but 7 to 8 inches, and it's gonna be announced in October. Not going to be released in October. Some news sources out there were citing Bloomberg, and they were like, "Oh, Bloomberg says it's going to release in October." No, they said it's going to be announced in October. And oh yeah, of course, it's gonna be the keynote announcing the iPad 7, just like they announced the iPads and the iPhones, and then maybe a month later or 2 months later, however long it is, maybe a week, then they release it. And this Bloomberg article says it's gonna cost $199. Now that is extremely competitive to me when it comes to Apple stuff, because Apple doesn't generally do this whole competition, you know, they usually charge a premium, except for their MacBook Airs right now, and some of their tablets. Like, especially with the MacBook Air, a lot of these ultra-thin notebooks are charging $1,300 and a little bit more. Though you do get better specs, but yeah, ultra-thin notebooks, at least when it comes to that, Apple is quite competitive in it. And Yes, Bloomberg says it's going to have the same resolution as the iPad 2, so non-Retina resolution. Next up, again with the iPad mini, Wall Street Journal pretty much repeats what Bloomberg says, but I do hope that they have different sources, because Wall Street Journal didn't cite Bloomberg and Bloomberg didn't cite Wall Street Journal. So Wall Street Journal says the iPad mini will ramp up production in September. So I guess that makes sense. Announcement in October, ramp up production in September, and then they say that it's going to have a less than 8-inch screen. All right, enough of the iPad mini news. Let's get down to the iMac news. And this is from DigiTimes. And you know what? From now on, you faithful listeners, it's like like if you were lizards and I was like listeners. You faithful listeners. Oh my god. I'm falling apart way too early in this podcast. Let me have a drink. Whenever I say digitimes.com, some of you guys, or most of you guys, actually all of you guys, should throw a grain of salt at it. Actually, throw a cup of salt at it. No. You get a sack of salt and just like bash the news with it. Because when it comes from Digitimes or those manufacturers from China, they're wrong most of the time. Or at least their guesses are very sketchy. You're like, what, seriously? But Digitimes says that the iMac will start production this month, as in July, and it will release in October. And manufacturers say that the Retina will most likely come out in 2013. This is the same news, pretty much, as what, I forgot what his name is, Marco from Instapaper. I think I said Instagram, creator of Instagram before, but he actually created Instapaper. At least I hope I got this right this time. So he said it last week. He also said that they're probably not going to do Retina this year, but most likely next year. And Digitimes says that Apple is actually planning, or at least Digitimes' sources say that Apple is planning on creating Retina displays for everything that they have. So they want to move everything to a Retina display. And I think there was a blog from, I have no idea what his name is, Engadget maybe, or maybe The Verge. One of those fine websites, where the author decided to do the math when it comes to how much data you're going to need to pump into a Retina display 27-inch monitor. And pretty much from his calculations, he found out that the Thunderbolt actually doesn't produce enough of an output to connect your MacBook Pro to a Retina display, external Retina display. So yeah, that pretty much, that should tell you guys how much processing power, how much just power in general a Retina display would take up. But I do hope that since the iMac, or at least the 27 iMac, it's not going to be connected through Thunderbolt, that maybe there's a faster connection. I don't really quite know how those connections work, but keep that in mind. So a 27-inch Retina display right now, I just bumped the microphone, sorry about that. 27-inch Retina display cannot be supported through Thunderbolt. Letting you guys know that. Next, from Digitimes yet again. Actually, wow, okay, this is what I was talking about. So I talked about 4 news items, iPad mini and the iMac pretty much, and now I'm gonna get into the headlines, as in stuff that don't have much meat. And to do that, I'm gonna use this transition. Oh yeah, I'm so proud of myself. I made that in GarageBand. Oh, drag and drop. I mean, it's not like it's some artistic thing, and things are beeping right now. Actually, that's the Do application on the Mac store and the iPhone app store, which is totally cool. I love this application. Check it out, Do. And, you know, I'm not, this isn't like an app review thing. There's lots of app review podcasts out there. Anyway, headlines. Digitimes says that the iPad battery is going to be revised to reduce the amount of heat that comes out of the new iPads right now. And also, the camera hole will be larger. I didn't know there was a problem with that, but they're going to make the camera hole a little bit larger, and this revised version will release this holiday season. And I think if they were to release this, it's not a biggie. I say here, it's a no biggie update from Apple. So it means Apple's not going to make a huge news about it. They're not going to be like, oh my God, our new iPad, or at least our new iPad version 1.1 is out right now. Oh my God, everybody download it, or not download it. Everybody buy it. No, they're not gonna do that. Just like how they didn't really make a big deal when it came to upgrading the iPad 2. I think it's the iPad 2. When they upgraded the iPad 2's processors, to make them a little bit faster and a little bit more power efficient. They didn't really make much of a big deal. They wouldn't do the same thing with this one. Next, Digitimes again says that iPad will get a revision on its backlight LED this year to fix overheating, and they mean the new iPad right now. And also that IGZO technology, man, this IGZO thing is totally everywhere right now. The IGZO technology will make the iPad thinner. Two things from this one. Actually, there were two things from this one. By reducing the LED in the iPad, in the new iPad right now, they're going to get rid of that LED, or they're going to get rid of one LED. And apparently, according to this news, you really won't see much of a hit when it comes to God. This thing is going to keep. Okay, you know what? There we go. I can't believe this phone is bugging me right now. Anyway, where was I? IGZO technology, iPad, LED. Okay. Let's put together the news from before, as in iPad battery being revised, to the one now. They say that IGZO technology will make the screen thinner, and I read an article from MacRumours.com, and they say all these news from Digitimes about a thinner new iPad that's going to come out this year doesn't seem very credible. Why? Because it's too much. It's too big of a change. Now, if they just did the battery change and maybe make a larger camera hole, not change the camera, just make the hole bigger. If they did that, then I'd be like, okay, they can get away with that. And then they say, oh, we're gonna do a full revision on its screen. I mean, we're going to replace the technology. We're going to make it thinner. So that means the physical form factor of the iPad will be thinner. And now you're going to have an iPad that looks different. Or at least just a tiny bit different from the original one, from the new iPad. And I don't think Apple would do this. I don't think Apple would change what their iPad would look like. At least the new iPad. Why? There's no point on it. I can see them changing the new iPad, so next year's model, but I don't see them doing a physical revision, as in from what it looks like in this year's iPad, especially because there's really not much wrong with it. Overheating issues, yeah, you can probably fix that with better batteries. All right, rant time over. Next, headline: iPhone 5 may get in-cell touchscreen technology because Wintech's revenue dropped significantly, says Brian White. Okay, let me parse that for you guys. Right now, iPhone 5 is not using this in-cell touch technology, and I think in-cell touch technology could make the screen a little bit thinner, but I don't think definitely iPhone 5 is not using this new technology. And right now, Wintech, which is a manufacturer in China, creates these screens from Apple right now. They're the manufacturers right now. And then people saw a 36% drop in their revenue this year, which leads them to believe that Apple is probably not going to use them for the iPhone 5. So they probably lost the bid for the contract for the iPhone 5. So the iPhone 5 will most likely have a different type of screen technology in it, this in-cell touch technology. But I think for the users, they're probably not going to notice much of a difference. All right, that's it. Headline: iPhone 5 display to have a 4-inch screen. No, this is from the Cult of Mac. The previous one was from Apple Insider. This was from the Cult of Mac, saying that the iPhone 5 display will have a 4-inch screen and in-touch technology, I said that before, for thinner panels. And their source is My Drivers. Now, if you look at this website, thecultofmac.com, and look through it, they say that the My Drivers website, the photos that they posted of this brand new iPhone 5 4-inch screen, they say that it looks, Cult of Mac says, it looks exactly like the iPhone 4 screen. Like, there's no difference between them. So that makes My Drivers, which is a Chinese manufacturer, I believe, that makes them a little bit less credible, I think. Next, Digitimes says that the iPhone 5 could have quad-core technology. That's pretty much it. That's all they said in this article that they had. It's like a mini article. That's all they said. Like, seriously, that's it. So, yes, quad-core technology, because all the other phone manufacturers out there have quad-core technology as well. Next, IFOAppleStore.com says that the Apple Store will turn their Genius bars 90 degrees so that they will allow seating for 12 people instead of the 7 that they have right now. So if you can imagine right now, if you walk into an Apple store and you look straight down the Apple store, you will see a Genius bar kind of along your view, horizontal, I'd like to say. And actually, I shouldn't use horizontal and vertical. Along the back wall, but they're going to turn it 90 degrees, so it's going to go along the side wall, and they're going to center it, and that will allow the geniuses out there to kind of fix multiple people's problems, right? Because you have more people to sit there, and you don't necessarily need a one-to-one genius ratio. So yes, Apple Store will be doing that. That's a headline. I spent way too much time on that headline. These headlines are supposed to be like, headline, blah, 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 and then I'm done. Next. I'm spending way too much time on them. Next, headline, Apple Store, or the App Store, will get a food and drink category in a few weeks. Not much to say about that. Next, iMac 27-inch supplies are diminishing based on Best Buy, Amazon, and a bunch of other retailers. This is according to Apple Insider. And this was just anecdotal stuff. So, there's nothing official, but apparently supply for the 27-inch iMac is dwindling, according to Apple Insider, who checked a bunch of these websites, and they went to Amazon.com, and they were like, oh, look, Amazon.com doesn't have much of a supply for the 27-inch iMac, and hey, look, Best Buy doesn't. Next, Digitimes says that Foxconn hopes to get the Apple TV contract by investing in Sharp. Now, I think I talked about this 2 weeks ago. I don't know why it popped up again in the news. Let me have a drink of water. I don't know why. You know what? If I had a partner in these podcasts, it'd be so easy because I'd be like, "Hey, Billy Bob Thornton. I don't really know celebrities. I just picked that out of the top of my head. Hey, Billy Bob, you tell me more about this Apple TV." And then Billy Bob's gonna start talking, and I'm gonna be like, "Oh yeah. You know, give me some time to think about what I'm about to say, because right now I'm kind of like shooting them freaking shotgun style without stopping, because dead air is terrible. And actually, if I had a co-host, I would like to have a very, very beautiful, hot-looking girl. Hot-looking woman. That's I know it's a little bit sexist, but don't you guys notice that whenever you're on YouTube and you look at the thumbnails, all the ones with these ladies that dress scantily clad ladies, they always get so many views, and it annoys me. It annoys me because I do look at some of them. I am interested in what they have to say, and then I listen to them and I go, there's not much meat into this. I for some reason I love meat. There's not much bagel into this. That doesn't quite sound right. There's not much stuff into what you're saying. So I've stopped clicking on those thumbnails. I don't know why I went in that tangent, but this is like the longest headlines section. Headline, again, from The Verge, saying that AT&T will launch a new blocking service for stolen devices on July 10th. I don't really care much for AT&T because I don't use it, but to let you guys know that if your iPhone got stolen, that was rude of me. I just burped. I'm a mess. Next up, headlines from 9to5Mac says that OS X Mountain Lion could release soon after Q3, which is the financial report, Q3 financial report of Apple in July 24th. Because the last time they had the financial report last year, Lion came out. They released Lion, I think like a week later or a few days later. So 9to5Mac kind of puts two and two together. If Apple's going to release another financial report this time, they're probably going to release their Mountain Lion operating system. So there you go. I guess there might be another, I can't say proof, but another reason why OS X Mountain Lion could possibly release at the end of this month. And speaking of Mountain Lion and software that you run, man, I suck at these transitions. Whoa, actually, we're in our rumors and postulations section. Rumors and postulations sections. And so I am going to play this. I don't know why I did that second one. I'm falling apart yet again with these podcasts, and I'm starting to sweat. I'm starting to get nervous because I'm like, I got 3 more stories to talk about. 3 or 4, whatever it is. And I don't want to mess up because this podcast goes live. Like I record it and I don't cut anything in between. I just live to drive and I do it. So there are times when I speak for 10 minutes and 15 minutes and then I mess up just a tiny bit and it bugs me. So I have to start all over again from the very beginning. Those are frustrating. So I'm going to keep soldiering on. Rumors and postulations and pie in the sky stuff. I actually wanted to create these stingers for like pie in the sky. I was thinking maybe like loading up a catapult, a sound of a catapult being wound up, and then you put a pie on top of the catapult, and the catapult goes, and then it shoots this pie in the sky, and then it hits a wall or something. But I'm not that experienced when it comes to the sound design and stuff. Anyway, what's up with me and tangents today? Rumors and postulations and pie in the sky stuff. iWork 12 could come out with OS X Mountain Lion. And right now, if you guys don't know, iWork is in like version whatever it is, and it released in 2009. So technically the iWork that we have right now, Keynote, Pages, and Numbers, they're 2009 software. I know, it's not like Apple to do that kind of stuff. So, what? I don't know if I can say this. Apple female dog, let's say. Wow, I can't believe they have that name. I can't believe I didn't catch that name. They say that iWork 12 will come out with OS X Mountain Lion. And here's their reasons. They have two reasons. One, iWork.com is going to it's gonna get pooched. So it's gonna die. Apple's gonna get rid of it. iWork.com beta. It's gonna end. It's gonna shut down. So what they're gonna have to do is they're gonna have to edit a bunch of stuff in iWork right now, because whenever you hit share, you can go to share it to iWork.com. Well, they're gonna have to edit that so that it says share it to iCloud, and then put like an iCloud architecture in the background and make sure it connects to iCloud. And right now it's kind of clunky the way you can connect it to iCloud right now, because it can't connect to iCloud. You'll have to go to your iTunes and get your folders and then drop them to your desktop and bring your folders and open them into iWork or Keynote, Pages, Numbers. So right now it's kind of clunky. So what they're gonna do, what Apple, I can't really say that. I can't, because this podcast is supposed to be clean. So Apple, and in a swear word, says that because they're going to shut down iWork.com and they're going to release this, they're going to have to connect it to the iCloud, might as well just update the whole thing. Also, that they're going to have to tweak iWork 09 to add Facebook and Twitter. Because in OS X Mountain Lion, there's Facebook and Twitter integration, so they're going to have to do the same thing. And if you're going to do all those changes on iWork 2009, might as well just release an iWork 2012 version. Next, from patents and speculations and pie in the sky. Patent for surround sound. Oh, hold on, I'm going to do this in an English voice. Patent for surround sound that can take advantage of multiple speakers and speaker locations. I was turning Indian there for a second. I was turning like an English Indian accent there. So, patent for surround sound that can take advantage of multiple speakers and speaker locations. This is Apple patents this stuff. You know what? I don't know if I should follow a bunch of these patents, but they do seem interesting, because at some point in time in the future, probably 1% of Apple's patents will come true. And what this does, this surround sound thing, what it does is right now we have 5.1 and 7.1 speaker systems, which means you have seven little speakers around you and then one subwoofer. And 5.1, 5 little speakers and one subwoofer. So what Apple wants to do, or what they've patented, is that you'll have, 8 speakers if you want, and 2 subwoofers, an 8.2 system. I don't know. Movies don't really make that. At least I don't think so. And what Apple's patent will do is it will take advantage of all those 8 speakers. So you can edit its location and say where the location of this speaker is compared to the other speakers, and then where the location of the person listening to the speakers. You know what? This is actually way too much pie in the sky. Way too pie in the sky for me. Next, almost the last pie in the sky, is patent shows that wired and wireless headset. And hold on, I messed up that sentence, and I'm not going to start over again because I'm almost done, and I have to do something with my car. Actually, it's not my car, it's my mom's car. Patents. A patent shows that wired and wireless headset could exist at some point in time in the future. And what it is it's a little Bluetooth headset that you stick in your ear like an Android, like a robot with a blinking bloop blinking thing in your Bluetooth headset. I'm starting to fall apart. Oh my God. I'm so close. And what you can do is you can connect this Bluetooth headset into the iPhone, and connecting it will make it a wired headset, one. And two, it will also charge your headset. So when I read that, I figured I thought proprietary connection. That's what we're gonna end up with, is a proprietary connection to be able to charge this Bluetooth headset and listen to it at the same time. Second thing I thought of was Apple headsets tend to break all the time. I don't like them. I don't like Apple headsets. I'm sorry, Apple. I love your MacBooks and MacBook Pros, but your headsets suck. And I could totally see myself walking around with this Bluetooth headset and then it'll break. And now I'm like, okay, well, there goes $150 for this headset. But the good thing is, if you own if your iPhone has AppleCare in it, what you can do is just bring the headset to the Apple Store and they'll totally replace it. And actually, here's an anecdote that's actually kind of useful. With my MacBook Pro right now, my power charging cable thing, it broke. And it's such a, hold on. I'm going to unplug it. Here we go. So this is my power cable. And right at the junction between the wire and the actual square, it broke. It snapped, and it just snapped. Like, I didn't snap it off, but the wire inside snapped. And I call the Apple Store, and I tell them, oh yeah, it snapped. And I don't have AppleCare for my MacBook Pro because I totally ripped out the guts and I replaced RAM and I put in SSDs and I put in all these disk doubler in there. So I called the Apple Store and I was like, hey, should I try to come in and get you guys to fix this, even though it's not really covered by AppleCare? They were like, well, we're probably not going to cover it, but you can come in anyway if you want. So I go into the Apple Store and I walk in the Apple Store and I ask this person, hey, I tell my story. It's like a 5-minute long story because I have a MacBook Air. I don't have a MacBook Air, but my family has a MacBook Air. And I was hoping that the MacBook Air's AppleCare will cover my MacBook Pro's charger. I know, it's far off, but I was like, I'm gonna give it a try because $80 is a lot of, it's like food. I mean, that's what it is to me. It's like you eat food or you spend $80 on this thing. So I walk in and I tell them, I give them my 5-minute story, and they're like, well, it doesn't look like, I don't think we can do anything about that. So I go, okay, could I at least try with your supervisor or your manager or whatever? And he goes, okay, fine, talk to this guy. So I talk to this guy and I tell him my 5-minute long story, and he was like, well, I don't know. I don't think it'll cover you. It doesn't make sense why it would cover you. So they go, oh, how about you talk to this genius, right? So, okay, let's talk to the genius. And the genius comes over and I tell him my story. He looks at my situation, and inside my backpack, I have a 15-inch MacBook Pro and an 11-inch MacBook Air. And whenever I buy a Mac, or whenever a family member or any of my family buys a Mac, I put my name whenever I register with that Mac, just because I always set it up for them. So they look into my account and they can see that I have all these Mac laptops and iMacs and all just these Apple gadgets on me. And I think they realize, they're like, holy crap, this guy actually spends a lot of money here. But I don't actually spend a lot of money. It's other people's money that I spend. And so he was just like, oh, you know what? I think I can do something for you. So he goes to the back, he comes back in, and he gives me a brand new charger. And he said, it's because we were recalling the chargers that you have right now. And so we're going to give you this charger for free, which is nice of them. But they should have at least created their charger to last. Whew, anecdote over. Next, the final story. Oh, Apple Insider says that there's a patent that shows head-mounted display that bounces light from your peripheral vision into the glass to avoid eye strain. So what it looks like is like a rectangular thing in front of your eye, and maybe like right in front of your ear, there's a light source that hits that rectangular piece of glass, and this light source that hits the glass makes the light bounce inside the glass all the way up until it reaches your eyes. And what this does is you don't actually have a screen in front of you. You just have a reflection of whatever that device will show, which means you will avoid eye injury or at least eye strain. And BGR picks this up, and they're all like, oh my god, Apple is making a Google Glasses thing! Makes a big deal about it. And I think Apple just wants to patent everything. And they probably heard that Google was making this Google Glass thing maybe a month ago, 3 months ago, and they go, oh, that is a good idea. Let's patent this just in case we want this ourselves, and just in case this does take hold of the consumer market. Let's patent it so that when we do create it, we're not going to get sued by Google. Because right now, Apple is suing everyone left and right. And yeah, they want to have a patent portfolio. You know what? This show isn't about patent portfolios. This show is about podcasts. No, this show is about rumors. And here's the outro music. Okay, there you go. I was making sure it's there. Well, that's it, everybody. That's it for the podcast. I am going to be 5 minutes late from dropping off my mom's car because I don't know why I'm dropping it off for her. I'm being a nice son, you know. I'm dropping it off for her. And yeah, thanks for listening or watching, however way you consume this media. And you can reach me at applebrut@gmail.com. And that's all I have to say. What a really crappy way to exit my show, you know? I'm just like,
well, everybody, that's all I have to say for you right now. I guess I'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.